Hey, it's early in the morning of 15th November. Wait until the barber shop opens in an hour. I'm going to go get my hair cut. I've had enough of this. So I'll donate what I got to the people that make wigs for cancer patients. So a friend of a friend brought me her flat cap, or well, I call it flat cap of Tweed, asking if I could repair the brim because the brim, which apparently is some kind of plastic, she must have folded it in half or something like that, and it snapped. And that's it's kind of nice when people have like boundless confidence in your ability. But I immediately kind of said, I had to tell her, says, it's a chance I could completely muck this up horribly, because tweed is rather loosely woven and it tends to fray. So I immediately knew what I had to do, but or at least I knew what to replace that with. But I decided right also from the beginning, I can't go in through the front because those are very machine sewn stitch. Very, I haven't bothered to count how many stitches per inch, but it was a very high ratio of stitches per inch. Let's say 20 or so. I don't know. So I decided I had to come in through the back, and I did so. But it was nerve-wracking because I'm using my picker here, my ripper, seam ripper, and it was a really good thread match to the tweed, and tweed tends to hide a line of stitches in any case. It's wonderful for that if you're making a suit or trousers or anything, because no matter how ham-fisted you are with a needle and thread, your work is hard to see. So it was really exasperating. It was really nerve-wracking, and I did see it did make a bit of fraying there because I'd be teasing, and frankly, I was using the old man zoom because it was just so darn hard to see. And as I'm doing it, I was sort of relying on feel as much as anything else, because the vibration, the feel of the thread running across the metal was subtly different from the feel of a yarn running across the metal. And I was almost completely successful. There is a bit of fraying there, but I managed to get it all apart and then take out the stiffener, and we can see it snapped, and you can see the little V cut right there, which I assume is to mark the center of the thing when aligning it. So I traced that on a very heavy piece of sole leather that I have. I've had this for years and years. I think at one point I was thinking, I've sort of investigated, spent a little bit of time sort of checking out my grandfather's trade, because he was a saddle maker and harness maker, collar maker. But toward the end of his days, he repaired shoes. So I picked up this heavy piece of shoe leather to experiment with, and boy howdy is it hard to work with. So it would help if I had the right tools. I mean, I have a lunette, I have a saddle maker's knife, but for this I just traced it with a pen, and then I used an X-Acto, a scalpel, and one of my trusty Opinel knives, sharpened to, well, I won't say razor, it could be a bit sharper than razor. And with a bit of tooth to it too. I used a fine sharpening stone. And so what I'm doing now is I'm just gradually, I cut it roughly to the lines, and now I'm just paring it down to the lines very carefully, very slowly. And I'll finish it because I don't have burnishing tools, and I'm not going to go out and buy a burnishing tool for a one-off job. But I'm just using a very coarse, what I call it a rasp. It's, as you can see, it's like screen door mesh, but sharp. Evidently it fits on a Sureform tool, the sort of thing used for auto body work and stuff like that. So yeah, just gonna round it to shape, and then probably do a couple of trial fittings, because this is at least 3 times thicker than this, so I might well have to reduce it to cut to inside the marks so that it'll actually fit inside the cap. So, and once that's in place to my satisfaction, I'll sew it up again and hand it back to her. And then get back to kilt making. Yeah, that's the ticket. Here we are again. Been to the barber, rocking the Peaky Blinders look, if I say so myself. Okay, so I've pretty much finished it. The fact that it's, as I said, 3 times thicker than this plastic meant that I had to reduce its overall dimensions. I couldn't reduce it in thickness, and frankly, I want to keep it that thick because we don't want to have to repeat this if she were to break this again. So it's a little bit, okay, it's not terribly smaller. And I could probably, okay, it is, you can see. I've had to reduce it quite a bit on one side. And I've signed it, as always. My concern was that every time I put it in here, because I was doing cut and try, I'm risking making the tweed fray. So that's about it. Yeah, I might just give it a little less shaving with the knife, and then I'll sew all of this back up again. What I haven't determined, which we're going to find out when she gets this thing back, is whether that inside edge is comfortable for her, whether it presses into her head. So yeah, so I think maybe I'm going to work this down a little bit more with a knife. And then sew it together and then hand it back to her. Yeah. Okay, yeah, we'll give that a shot.